My next guest is a special guest because we actually did a very intensive cybersecurity training program for 18 months with the government of Saudi Arabia. And we delivered it during a very difficult time, which is Corona. But the depth and in-depth look at what we did in the training covered a broad spectrum of NIST aligned with SUF. And it was all the way from forensics to threat hunting to incident response to Linux to Windows to 50 other different programs. It was an intense Cyber Center of Excellence program. So Christopher Will is the Vice President of Cyber Solutions at Comtech CyberStronger. He has an intensive background in developing training solutions in cybersecurity, including the most successful university textbook and curriculum series in the United States. He launched the first virtual lab solution in North America higher education market in 2012 in his role as Senior Vice President of Curriculum Solutions with Ascend Learning, Jones and Bartlett. He has been an integral part to Comtech's training and education efforts since 2016. He has experience developing workforce development, content, education solutions for clients in higher education, government, and corporate channels. On topics ranging from IT, cyber, his background includes executive roles at Cengage, Pearson, ICS Squared, Ascend Learning, where he also had clients including universities, the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy. He is a graduate of the University of Virginia. Please welcome Chris Will to the stage.
Well, I just want to thank you for having me here today. Hopefully I can share a little bit of wisdom here. You've had very many brilliant speakers up here, people who know cybersecurity at a far higher level than I do. I'm here to talk about training and tell you a little bit about maybe what I've learned over the years about cyber. My background is in education and publishing. Everything from building textbooks to building e-learning, and then getting involved with hands-on labs, virtual labs that could be delivered anywhere, anytime, any place, which was a very radical concept when we put it out there 10 years ago for the first time, especially in higher education. We were working with a university system in the US that had 130 different campuses and needed to deliver a solution that would work the same everywhere. And we attacked that problem with a partner and were able to deliver a solution that nobody else had done. So we were very excited about that. When I say I fell into cyber, I think it really started about 22 years ago. Two gentlemen approached me, wanted to tell me about a new product that they wanted to build training for. And I was working for a company in Baltimore. They walked into my office and they told me all about something called a CISSP. And I had no idea what they were talking about. And of course, that is the leading certification in the world for cybersecurity professionals now. At the time, nobody had heard of it. It was a very minor certification. It has grown tremendously, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And of course, Samir mentioned that, I did have the privilege of delivering the best-selling curriculum textbooks and hands-on cybersecurity curriculum in higher education. That program still lives over at Ascend Learning. I always recommend people take a look at it. I'm very proud of what we delivered and how Ascend Learning has invested in that product and made it better over the years since I left. My current company is Comtech CMTL. You can look us up. I don't want to dwell on that too much, except that we have a brand called CyberStronger. We are here, and we'll talk about that shortly. Okay. So what have I learned about cybersecurity over all these years? And I wanted to distill this into some very basic facts. And I think that one of the most basic facts is that it's easy to be the bad guy, right? Like we all know how easy it is to to be the bad guy. We see the stories, the growth of ransomware as a service. You've had plenty of people talk about this at the conference, so I don't want to bore you with details. You've probably heard it 3 or 4 times already. But DDoS as a service attacks, the dark web, the stealing of PPI, personal information, known software vulnerabilities, script kiddies. Anyone can be a hacker, right? You can buy programs on the web and basically just exploit anybody's network, and they just have to get it right once, and you can be victim of a cyber attack. And I think, so if I've learned one lesson, it's easy to be the bad guy. It's challenging to be in your position. It's much harder to be the good guy. And not only that, it requires a set of skills. It requires knowledge, certainly. I mean, we have certifications that deliver knowledge-based training all around the world. We can name them all: the CISSP, Security Plus, CASP, the various programs that are being put out by professional certification bodies around the world. And, that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, there's some other things I think they're really critical to delivering successful training, because knowledge alone is not going to cut it. It's just not going to make it happen. We have a real shortage of cybersecurity workers, not only in the world, obviously here, as well as in the US. This is a problem that's pervasive and that we need to attack in every society. And there are skills that are, definitely needed, including, incident response, vulnerability assessment, forensics, secure software development. These are all areas that are very critical in defending your network, defending your intellectual property, your data, your industrial control systems. We're speaking about all that during this conference. And of course, there's tools out there, right? So we've got all sorts of tools to monitor your networks and, track your logs and, maybe enhance that with some artificial intelligence, machine learning to monitor your networks and keep you more secure. But at the end of the day, in order to defend your network, you're going to have qualified people to help defend your network. And that's really what we're all about. And that's, what I've learned is that it just takes a lot of skills to do that effectively. And that's, why I am where I am today. We want to be able to deliver that type of training. And I think it's really important that, we furnish these skills to people in order for them to be effective in defending our networks. So I'm just sharing some numbers. This was easy to pull from a report that was published by NICE NIST here in the U.S. But I think none of these numbers should be surprising to you. I think actually, we're talking over 3 million workers. This study cites over 2.72 million workers as far as the shortage that we have. We have a huge skills gap. And it's interesting, some of the skills that they're identifying aren't even the hard skills that I just talked about. They're what we call soft skills. Things like critical thinking, be able to understand, what's the mind of the hacker and how do they work. And I always think about, how easy it is to exploit human beings. Because I really believe fundamentally we all want to do the right thing and we want to be good people, right? And the hackers, the people that are attacking your networks know this. And obviously, phishing is a major, major issue. And I'm going to tell you an interesting story and one that has humbled me tremendously and really built my mindset around this. A couple of years ago, before I came back into this role, I took a job as a vice president of sales and marketing for a technology company, a small company focused on delivering content management systems. It was sort of a sideways portion of my career away from cybersecurity training, but it was a great little company and I was really excited to be there. And I remember sitting down and having my orientation, meeting the CEO, and then going to my office and opening my email that very first day. And sure enough, as I'm scrolling through my email, there's an email from my boss saying that he needed me, that he was in a meeting, and he needed me to procure some Amazon gift cards right away. And you know, your first day at work, you want to please your new boss. You want to do everything you can possible to do the right thing. And of course, what did I do? I sped out of the building and I tried to buy 15 gift cards at the local Best Buy in Annapolis. And thank God they only let me buy 2 because I was transmitting the codes, scratching off the codes and sending them the codes for, I think it was iTunes, not Amazon, but it was iTunes cards. And as I'm doing this, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, something's not quite right here and I can't figure out what it is. But because I'm so eager to please and really want to support my new company, my new boss, I got caught up in a scam. I sent somebody a couple $100 worth of free iTunes in the process and felt like an idiot afterwards. So, you know, I think there's nothing wrong with that. We can all fall prey to these things. This is not hard for our adversaries to take advantage of. And, you know, it's sort of confirmed 2 things for me. You know, I thought to myself, man, after all these years of working and training people in cybersecurity, I fall victim to one of the easiest scams out there. So that's embarrassing, but not embarrassing enough now where I'm not afraid to admit it and tell you about it and how easy it is for any of us to fall into this trap. But to that effect, I always think about this concept of humility and always staying humble because our adversaries are really, really good. And I think if we maintain that mindset around humility, I think that really prepares us to be both, better defenders, better professionals, better cybersecurity professionals, and of course to really think about what we need, to do to train this next generation of cybersecurity professionals that we need to be effective in their jobs, to protect our networks. Obviously, we need to, account for the human factor, and really do the best job we can to take care of people. So anyway, so when I think about how are we doing things now, certification is king. Everybody wants a certificate, a certification, piece of paper saying, hey, I'm qualified to do this thing. I would argue that's all well and good, but show me how you can prevent, a denial of service attack. Show me how you can run a, ZenMap to protect my network. Show me how you can analyze log files effectively to defend my network. There are a lot of things that we teach that are not necessarily reflected in the popular certifications that are supposed to designate, a user's knowledge and abilities. And I would argue right now, we're really focused primarily on knowledge, and knowledge, skills, and abilities is what we really have to train for. So knowledge is wonderful in and of itself, and I have a great respect. I have friends that work for all these certifying bodies. I know them, and I think there's great value in the knowledge that a CISSP or a SEC Plus or the CISM, all these certifications deliver. I mean, certainly, that's valuable. But what you see is if we have a shortage of at least 2.72 million professionals, and if you look at the numbers above, I mean, we have a long way to go, both to fill the gap just from these knowledge-based certifications to what we are trying to do, which is to actually, create skills for people. So how do we solve this? In the US, we have nice NIST. We've defined 52 job roles in the US. We have the Saudi Cybersecurity Workforce Framework here, which also includes OT, and there's been a lot of discussion around OT skills here during this conference. Interesting, when there's job postings in the US, they always ask for, even at entry level, they're asking for CISSPs. Well, that's kind of interesting because CISSPs are supposed to have 5 years of work experience at least. So you're going to hire an entry-level job candidate with a CISSP. That seems silly to me. What you need to do is find people who actually have the skills to do the job that you want. And it was interesting to me, one of the statistics that really jumps out here is prior hands-on cybersecurity experience remains the primary factor in determining whether a candidate is considered qualified, according to 73% of the respondents to this ISACA survey of cybersecurity in 2022, which is really interesting to me because there's no certification right now that really measures that. And I think that's a huge problem. But I also think it's a huge opportunity for all of us to get better, to get smarter about how we're hiring people and how we develop them. And I think this is also very much in line with Vision 2030. Around the Human Capability Development Program, I spent some time looking at the core values, the core principles behind it. I think all of these things obviously fit into this model. And yes, is cyber a vocational training opportunity? I think it is. Determination and persistence, these are qualities you need as an effective cyber defense analyst. All these principles from the Human Capability Development Program, I think, really reflect what we need to try to do in cyber and what we need to do and with education in general. But I think so much of this applies to cyber. And when I read this, I just felt, these were some of the principles from the Human Capability Development Program, the educational principles. I felt these values really aligned with the cyber journey both this country, this region, and the world need to sort of embrace. So, I'm not the technical guy. I can tell you that we've got programs, we've got ways to do this. And we want to be able to identify candidates. We want to be able to identify candidates in your current workforce. We want to be able to identify candidates outside of your workforce. And we want to be able to deliver training in a way where they can practice skills over and over and over again. Because it's going to be the skills that really matter. Training is about having the skills to meet the adversary when they attack, so that it just becomes automatic. Whether that's in military training, whether that's in cybersecurity training, that principle applies. So my colleague, Eric Wallace, will be presenting a technical workshop at 2, back here in TWS 2, about doing workforce assessment, selection, training, and evaluation at scale. This is me. I did want to go to one slide I thought would be somewhat something for you to, that he will share in more detail. But we do have tools to do assessments of individuals, both their attitude and aptitude for cyber, as well as tools where we're measuring their proficiency in virtual lab environments so that we understand how they perform against key job roles. And these are some of the key job roles that we're talking about. Cyber defense analyst, incident response, forensics analyst. You can see them here on the slide. But we've got the tools to do this. Eric can show you how we do this. And I think we can create better qualified cyber defenders by leveraging these tools and delivering on the vision both for KSA 2030 to enhance your cyber resiliency as an organization, as a company, and as a society. And we're very excited about being part of this conference, this effort, bringing our solutions here, and with VirtuPort support and our track record of doing this. And like I said, we've done this for multiple clients. We have the largest cyber training contract in the DoD. We've worked with Samir and delivering this for the Royal Saudi Air Force. We know these programs work. We're doing this for the Department of Homeland Security now, the CISA DHS group in the US. And we want to be able to deliver this capability for you guys and do more. So anyway, really appreciate your time. Does anybody have any questions for me whatsoever? I tried to cover a lot of ground real fast. And anyway, you, sir.
Hello. Yes, thank you. Thank you for this excellent presentation. Lot of numbers. So
Yeah.
really nice a really nice presentation. May I know exactly that what is your forecast for cybersecurity workforce in next 2 to 3 years? Do you think that with the advent of artificial intelligence, this requirement will go down, or have we reached the trough or peak, or so? What is the forecast for 3 to 5 years? Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around AI and machine learning and how that can help us. I still sort of say, okay, there's black box solutions. I call them black box solutions. We all know what they are. There's plenty of them out here on the showroom floor, and they're great, and they're a critical part of your cybersecurity strategy. But I think the human factor never goes away. It never goes away, and I think will this have a positive impact? Will it reduce the number of potential job openings? I think the attack surface continues to grow. I think I heard something about that earlier yesterday. The more mobile phones there are, the more people there are, the more devices there are, more offices going remote with bring your own device. All these things will continue to drive the need for professionals who can do the job. So in spite of the advent of these tools, I don't see the need going down. I think it's just going to continue to increase. I think it's one of those, it's a race where it's difficult to keep up, frankly. You know what? I would leave that to the experts. I mean, I would like to see what, frankly, there's people a lot smarter than me that do that research. I would say, I would look to a lot of the associations to lead on that. The Information Systems Security Association is a group that I do some work with. I think they would have some good numbers around this. They publish a workforce report. It'll be interesting to see some of the reports that are coming out now. What are they saying about this? Because I think I would look to the report that ISSA does. I would look to the report that IC Squared does, and probably ISACA as well. There's probably the three organizations, and perhaps CompTIA. Those four organizations, I think, really sort of get the pulse of the labor market and what's going on. And I do think one thing, though, and this may be a little controversial, this worker shortage, this skill shortage, it's good for business, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of organizations that say, hey, as long as this shortage exists, we have a right to exist. And I think, we all want to meet the challenge, but I don't think the challenge is going away anytime soon. So anyway, I appreciate everyone's time. We'll talk. And thank you so much. All right, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. That was fantastic.